The first time I went to therapy, I was 18. I was in my first year of university, and I remember that there was so much going on and I was mentally just breaking down. I had spoken with someone at my church and they recommended that I try therapy, and they mentioned that my school offered free counseling for students, which was great. And I went and it was amazing. It was the first time I'd had anybody sit me down and allow me to just talk about and process some things, and just think about the things that were going on, why I responded to and handled, those issues in the way that I did, figure out why I was the way that I was, just a whole lot of stuff, right? It was honestly such an amazing experience that I will always be eternally thankful for. The therapist I saw specifically, she was just amazing, and I bless God for her every day. But yeah, we're here to talk about basically why we should all go to therapy if we're able to, if we have access to it. I think particularly if you're a man, if you're an African man, if you're a Nigerian man, please go to therapy if you have access to it. I know it's not something that's available to everyone, so I don't say it lightly, but if you do have the opportunity to get therapy, please go get it. For the well-being of yourself, for your well-being, for the well-being of your friends, family, children, all of that. And I think it's important to say this because in, Black communities, in Nigerian communities, therapy isn't yet as popular as it should be. I mean, things are getting better. It's definitely way better now than it was in the past, like with a lot of things, but there is still a lot of room for improvement. Anyway, I read this article and we will be talking about some of the reasons they gave for why therapy is important. I will link the article in the description box. But the first and obvious one is that the effects of therapy persist over the long haul. I found that talk therapy doesn't just help you fix, the problem now, but it actually helps, fix some behavioral patterns and thought processes over time. It allows you to really reflect on just what your processes usually are, how you get from point A to point B, how can we reconfigure those and get to healthier thought processes, stuff like that. So I found that if you've been successful in therapy, it doesn't just help fix or, help you cope with whatever is going on in the present, but it will teach you some things for problems and just life in the future. Another great thing about therapy is that it can really help you to see that you're not alone in whatever problem you're facing, right? Because generally you have these therapists who have treated a number of patients, right? Who may have come across numerous people that have your exact same problem, people who are on the other side of it now, and these are the things that helped them. These are the ways they handled it, right? And knowing that sometimes can be very helpful, because I know that when you're in the thick of whatever it is that is destroying your life, it can be very difficult to imagine that there's anything positive on the other end of it, right? But knowing that you're working with somebody who has dealt with people who are in your exact situation now, and those people are at the other end of it and are thriving and doing better, I feel like, at least for me, it does give me a sense of hope, I guess. Not saying that it fixes much, or not saying that it fixes everything, but that knowledge does give me the motivation to want to try and commit to the process. Going to therapy also helps you maintain and better the relationships you currently have, and it gives you the skills you would need to teach the next generation a better way, to handle things differently with your kids than things were handled with you. To just develop healthier ways, healthier patterns of loving and living and all that good stuff. And all these things are great things about therapy. And again, I will link the article in the description so you can read it because they do have a lot of insightful things. But I think for me the biggest thing was just it was really great having what really just felt like a safe space where I could say anything, because I didn't feel like I'd ever had that before. I think another reason why it was important to me to make this video, brief as it may be, is because of the possibility that, talking about therapy and the fact that you've been through it could potentially help other people who are maybe considering it but are hesitant. I remember once I was just hanging out with some friends and there's some people there I didn't know. And we just started talking about mental health, therapy, all of that. And I was like, yeah, like even my therapist, she, said this, she did this. And this guy turned around, he was like, you've been to therapy? I was like, yeah, I have. He's like, oh, that's so great. And he's like, tell me more, right? Like, and the look on his face, like, it was almost like there was a look of relief on his face. Like, oh, okay, great. Like, this is, somebody else who is seemingly normal, that has been to therapy. And it helped her, like, I know, unfortunately, it is still something that, some people might be hesitant about, especially Nigerian people, especially Nigerian men, because of the way masculinity is constructed, just because of the way our culture is when it comes to men being hard guys all the time, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I do strongly recommend therapy. And in saying all this, I'm not preaching therapy to the masses, like myself included. I do, want to go back to therapy at some point. But yeah, I just thought I would share that if you have the opportunity to, therapy can be very, very beneficial. Now, it's not always, like you go in there and they fix you. A therapist is supposed to help you walk through and figure out and unpack whatever the heck is going on and figure out some sort of way forward. But you do need to commit to the process and do the work. Also, it's not always that you go in the first time and your therapist is amazing. You guys just click and it's just wonderful and fantabulous. Like, sometimes it takes time to find a therapist that is right for you. Sometimes you may try one out, okay, need to try another, until you find one that you connect with. Some things that help, some people are bearing certain things in mind when they're looking for a therapist. So if you're a black man, they might want a therapist who's also a black man, because they feel like they have shared experiences and it would be easier for the therapist to understand some of his specific issues. I've had someone else tell me that when they were looking for a therapist, they made sure to look for therapists that dealt with the certain issues that they were facing at the time, right? So if it's illness, they looked for, therapists that dealt with people who had that particular illness and what that means, for life. If it's alcoholism, if it's grief, those kinds of things. There are counselors, therapists who have different kinds of resumes and have specialized in different things. Again, not everything is available to everyone depending on where you are, but it might be something to bear in mind, because that might be helpful and it might help you get more out of the process of therapy. I'm not a healthcare professional. I do feel the need to put that disclaimer out there, obviously. And mostly just sharing from my personal experience. My first therapist was amazing. I absolutely loved her. God bless that woman, wherever she is to this day. But yeah, it might take time to find, a person with whom you click. Anyway, that's my little share about therapy today. Please leave a comment below and let us know if you've been to therapy and how it helped you, what ways it helped you, especially for, anybody who's thinking of going to therapy and just has all these questions. Let us help our brothers and sisters in Christ. But that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.